Hello everyone, we were discussing lesson number 16 bio environmental issues. This lesson is useful to the students who are preparing for UGC NET paper 1 also. So, we were discussing pollution, we have discussed some of the causes and effects of pollution, and we have also discussed types of pollutant. Today we are going to discuss that how we can control pollution. So, before that we should revise that what are the causes of pollution. Main important sources from where pollution is caused, they are industries and vehicles. So, if these are the main causes, we will have to see that how we can check the pollution coming out of these. So, for the control of the pollution from these two main sources, there are different devices which are used for this. So, these are the three main devices which are discussed in your book. They are catalytic converter, scrubber and electrostatic precipitator. So, in this lesson we are going to study that what are they and where they are being used, what is their type and what is the material being used in them, what pollutant they are removing, what are the advantages and disadvantages, and if there is any particular point that is to be discussed, we will be discussing it side by side. Let us start with the catalytic converter. Catalytic converter, first we should try to understand the meaning. What is a catalyst? Catalyst is a substance which increases the rate of reaction without actually taking part in it. And converter means that basically it is a reaction only. So, that means there is some material which is being used here, which is increasing the speed of the reaction and converting the pollutants to some type of material which is less polluting. So, what are the catalytic converters? They are the devices which are used to control the pollution in the vehicles. So, this is a kind of device which is used to control the vehicular pollution, and in this device we are using what type of material is used, that is platinum, palladium and rhodium. These are the catalysts which are being used to control the vehicular pollution. They are packed in a device which is attached to the exhaust of your vehicle, with the cars or with the motorcycles. So, what does it do? The method of working is this, that these substances, they convert the pollutants which are coming from the vehicle to some less polluting substance. So, what pollutant they are coming from the vehicles? They are mainly carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxide. These gases are coming out of the vehicle, right. So, what do these substances do? They convert carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide, hydrocarbon to carbon dioxide plus water and NOx to nitrogen plus oxygen. So, what is the function of these materials? They are converting these pollutants to these substances. Now, what happens is that in a vehicle all these reactions are taking place, right. So, when there is more of oxygen, then these two reactions are favored. When there is more of fuel, if fuel is more, then this reaction is facilitated. So, that means that in this type of device the efficiency is never going to be 100%. Either these two reactions are proceeding at faster rate or this reaction is proceeding at fast rate, right. But of course, in the other words, this is reducing the pollution. So, what will be the advantage? It will be reducing the pollution, right. This is the common advantage of all the devices which we are using to control the pollution. What is the disadvantage? The main disadvantage is that it it has some cost, right? You have to purchase it. So, there will be some initial cost which you will have to bear for getting them fitted to your vehicle. Second is that there may be a little reduction in efficiency of your vehicle. Maybe there will be some reduction in the average that you are getting from your vehicle, and these converters, they are to be maintained. So, you have to get them maintained properly, because if they are not maintained properly, then they will lose their efficiency. So, these are the costly materials. So, because of that, these catalytic converters are a little costly for the for us, but it is mandatory to get them fitted to control the pollution. Another thing which we are going to discuss today is the other device which is used for controlling the pollution from the factories. These two devices both are used for industrial pollution. So, most of the time, what are the industrial pollutants? Sulfur dioxide, that we have discussed, that it is the major component which is present in the factory exhaust. There may be particulate matter also. So, particulate matter will be depending upon the industry. Sometimes if some mercury is being used in that, then maybe there are some heavy metal particles, there may be carbon particles, there may be ash or dust particles. So, in other words, as we discussed in the previous lesson also, that there can be different types of pollutant present in this. So, you may call them gaseous pollutant or particulate matter, which is called as the suspended particulate matter also. So, there can be different gases, there may be sulfur dioxide, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, hydrochloric acid fumes may be present, and of course, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, these gases are present in it. So, for removing these pollutants, we have used these two scrubbers and electrostatic precipitator. So, where they are used? They are used with the industrial pollution or industrial processes where these gases are coming, there they are being used. Next is that what is their type? Scrub. Let us first discuss scrubber. Scrubbers are of two types, wet and dry. Now, in the wet scrubbers, what is done, that whatever smoke is coming out of the chimney, that is made to pass through a system in which atomized water is sprayed. There may be small nozzles from which atomized water is sprayed. Atomized water means fine mist of water. Now, whatever exhaust is coming from the factory, whatever exhaust is coming from the factory, that may be containing some particulate matter. We commonly know that when we spray water on dust, it gets heavy and it settles down. It also may be containing some gases which are soluble in water. So, those soluble gases will also get dissolved and they will be settled down. So, what will happen, that when this smoke will rise through this mist of water, the carbon particles or the polluting soluble gases, they may be collected in the slurry here, and comparatively cleaner smoke it will be released. Right? We can't say that it is as pure as air, but it will be quite comparably cleaner. Now, this is how this type of device is being used in the factories. So, what pollutants are removed from this? One may be the carbon particles, or it may be the soluble gases, right. So, basically it is used to remove bigger particulate matter, those particles which are of bigger size, which can be loaded with water and they settle down, and it is also used to remove the soluble gases. Now, in this case HCl and ammonia, these two gases are very successfully they are removed by this method. Okay. What are the advantages? One of the advantages is that it is a very small and it is not a very bulky device. It can be fitted very conveniently, even with the small factories they can use it, and it is not very costly also. As you can see that there are no moving parts in it, so maintenance is also low, right. So, these are the some of the advantages, whereas it has got some disadvantages also. First disadvantage is this, that this device, what it is collecting all the impurities in the form of slurry. So, previously those pollutants they were in gaseous form, now they are in slurry form. So, that means that slurry is to be, or that waste water is to be disposed of properly. And second thing is that in this it is causing some water pollution also, because we are spraying the water over the smoke. So, because of that it needs a constant supply of water. So, that means that it is using electricity as well as water, and it in a way it is creating the water pollution also. Another disadvantage is, as I told you, that some particles of smoke or soot which are present in the smoke, they will be heavy and they will be settled down. But those particles which are very fine or in very small size, they cannot be removed by this method. Okay? So, these are some of the disadvantages of this. Now, another thing is that in this case we can have dry scrubber also. So, what is the use of dry scrubber and how it is used? In wet scrubber I have told you that mist of water is sprayed over it, whereas in case of dry scrubber we can use alkaline material or alkaline material. For example, we can spray material. For example, we can spray sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate, which is also called as lime. Now, when the sodium bicarbonate is sprayed on it, so because of that the moisture content of the smoke or the gases it reduces, and in some cases what we can do is we can use activated alumina. We can use activated alumina. Now, what is this activated alumina? Activated alumina means alumina is dry powder. It can be activated by adding some chemical to it which can absorb some special substances. So, that means alumina activated with some material which can absorb some material on it. So, the choice of activated material, it will be depending upon the kind of pollutant that we want to remove. So, in case of, for example, in case of mercury dust can be removed if we activate the alumina by halogens, maybe chloride, bromide and iodides, such type of substances. If it is activated, then even the heavy metal can be removed. So, if we are using this method, then the smoke which is coming out from the chimney in this case, that will be comparatively dry. If we are using this method, then we are able to remove even VOC, that is volatile organic compounds, and we can also remove aldehydes, right. So, such substances can also be removed. So that means that it is an added advantage depending upon the type of smoke which is coming, the kind of pollutant which are present, they can be removed by using activated alumina. So when we are using these two substances instead of water here, then it will be called as dry scrubber. Okay, so that will be an added advantage to it. So that means here the advantage will be more, that those pollutant which we want, specifically the kind of pollutant which we want to remove, that can be removed. Another advantage out of this is this, that if the number of the amount of pollutant is more, then because these substances are being absorbed. So what is absorption? Absorption is absorption on the surface. So you can very conveniently get that material back also. For example, in case of mercury, right, if it is absorbed, you know that mercury is a very poisonous substance. So in case that powder is to be discarded of, or it is to be disposed of, then mercury is to be removed first, because otherwise if you will use that ash or that waste material and just dispose it off in the landfills, then mercury, it shows the capability of leaching. Leaching means it can get dissolved with the rainwater and it can reach the water bodies and create mercury poisoning. So such substances, if they are being used, then we should be very careful that before disposing of, these substances are to be removed carefully, right. Another advantage of this is that if alkaline material is being used here, then the material exhaust which is coming from here, out of that you can get gypsum as byproduct. Out of this material you can get gypsum, and that can be used for making some industrial product also. For example, it can be used for making dry wall panels, right. So that is another advantage of this. So these are some of the qualities that we are getting the advantage of removing the pollution. Another advantage is there which I missed. Another advantage may be that, as in this case you see that when the smoke is coming out and water is being sprayed, if the exhaust gas is heated, then what will happen? This water will also get heated. So that heated water can be used for boilers or for heating the building also, though that is also an added advantage. So this is how that these type of devices, they are helping us in removing the pollution, as well as we may be getting some useful product out of it as a byproduct, or it can be used for heating the boilers also, because we are capturing the specific heat of the steam which is being produced here. Because of that, because water will be capturing the heat, and that can be utilized for other purposes also. So these are some of the advantages as well as the disadvantages. Now major disadvantage in this is this, that only the comparatively larger particles are removed, right. So that means in this case, if the particle size is small, then they do not settle down by this process. So there comes the need of another kind of device, that is electrostatic precipitator. So I will clean the board and then we will study about the electrostatic precipitator. What is the electrostatic precipitator? Now the name itself tells you that what is electrostatic. Electricity first. There are two types of charges, electrostatic charges and flow of charges is called as electricity. So what we are using here is that we are using a setup, a device in which we are charging those small particles so that later they can be collected by the collecting plates. We know there are two types of charges, it's negative and positive. And negative charges, they are attracted towards the positively charged electrode. So what we can do here is that in this case there may be, in a very simple diagram we can show that there may be some positively charged plates and there may be some negatively charged electrodes also. Now what happens? These electrodes, they are charged with very high voltage. High voltage up to the level of 20,000 to 100,000 volts. Now when this type of electricity is passed through these electrodes, then what will happen? They will they will electrify the air around it also. So if smoke which is coming out of the chimney is made to pass over this, then the air which has been electrified around it, and if the dust is present or smoke is soot particles are present in this smoke, then when they will pass near this air, then these smoke particles, they get charged. Because of that, when they pass through these two plates, then they will be attracted toward the other charged electrode. And what will happen? That soot particle, they will be removed and cleaner air will be produced. Okay. So this is the method of removing the small particles, small size particles, by making them charging them with the static charges, and then they are getting removed. So that means that what kind of pollutant we can remove here? Simply we can remember that the smaller particle size particles, they are also removed by this method. Now what are the advantages? Advantages of this is, it is again depending upon that this electrostatic precipitator, it also is of two types, that is dry or wet. In case of dry electrostatic precipitator, this air is kept dry. So when the air passes through it, then the smoke particles or the soot particles, they are removed by it. And later on, because ultimately what will happen, that these particles, they will get deposited on the plates. So they are to be removed by scraping these filters, and then they can be removed. So in this case we are not seeing any use of water, so the substance remains dry. So definitely it is more useful for those substances where the exhaust is containing some combustible material. If the dust is combustible, so we cannot let it pass through some material, because of which it can be removed very conveniently. Okay. Another thing is that the other type of method is wet, right. When we are using the air, when we are spraying the air which is laden with 100% humidity, in that case what happens, that better conductivity is produced here, because sometimes we see that some of the particles, they show resistivity. Resistivity means that they are not taking up the charge properly. So in that case, the air which is laden with water, that is sprayed in this. So because of that, it increases it reduces the resistivity, and it is able to remove the particles. So that means wet electrostatic precipitators, they are better in removing the particulate matter, right. And even if the substance is greasy, or if the exhaust gas which is coming out of it, that is moist, then also wet precipitators are better. Now what is the advantages? We have already discussed that even the small particles may be removed, and even those particles, if they are greasy or the gas is moist, even then it can be made clean. What are the disadvantages? One major disadvantage is this, that it is a bulky device, and it is costly also. It is working on electricity, high electrical voltage is required. So that is one of its disadvantage, right. And but otherwise these two devices, they are able to remove sulfur dioxide from the air up to 99%. So, that means the air which will be coming out of the chimneys, that can be made very comparatively very clean as compared to the smoke which was coming out previously. So, these are some of the devices which we had discussed today, and they are useful for reducing the pollution. So, if you want to, then you can draw this diagram also and copy it in your notebooks. Okay.